The summer months were quiet at home. I was usually alone, and when I was bored, I would call my friends and we would spend time together. Our house had 3 rooms, and one of them was darker and cooler than the others. I preferred to sleep in that room because of this characteristic. One day, we gathered with our friends at home. As the conversation got deeper, we started talking about jinns. Since I knew that I had experienced similar supernatural events before, I wanted to take advantage of this situation to have some fun and scare my friends. As a result of the jokes I made, my friends were really scared and expressed their reactions to me by saying, "God willing, you will experience such things." I didn't pay much attention to these words at that moment. When night came, everyone dispersed to their homes. I preferred the dark room because of its coolness and peacefulness and decided to sleep there. When I entered the room, I lay down peacefully on my bed. Shortly after I fell asleep, I felt a slight breeze moving through the room. The small window of the room was open. I intended to get up and close it, but as I sat up in a stupor, my eye caught on the ceiling. In an instant, I was unable to move. As soon as I realized this abnormality, my eyes closed, and it was as if an entity was trying to close them. To make it even more frightening, this entity tried to throw me off the bed, while I tried to pull myself to the other side. Our struggle was short-lived. Suddenly, the entity vacillated, crashing into something. A few seconds later, unexpectedly, my body slowly began to levitate. My hands were also in the air, as if some force was holding them up with me. My eyes were closed, but suddenly they opened and red, flaming eyes appeared in front of me. These eyes were closing and opening like lids from right to left, left to right. At this moment, my body and organs felt as if nails were being driven into them. I was afraid that the presence was going to kill me. Normally, I have difficulty memorizing prayers and rarely recite them. However, in the midst of this terrible moment, a prayer that I did not remember fell from my lips. As soon as I recited the prayer, the entity quickly threw me on the bed. Stunned, I sat up and realized that my thumb was deeply cut and bleeding. I could see my bones through the depth of the wound. I threw myself out in fear. At the hospital, I received a total of 34 stitches, 27 on the inside and 7 on the outside. What I experienced that night affected me deeply, both mentally and physically. I became unable to stay at home by myself and was constantly depressed. At the time, I never thought that a curse could have led to the horrible events I experienced. But over time, I began to think that perhaps my friend's words that evening were a foreshadowing of this terrible experience. After that day, even entering that dark room in the house became a nightmare for me. The coolness in which I had found peace was replaced by unspeakable fear and uneasiness. With the impact of what I experienced, I decided to seek professional help in order to recover mentally. With psychological support and the support of my friends, I tried to overcome the incident. However, I realized that everything leaves a trace and some wounds do not heal easily. This experience was a turning point for me. I now have a much more careful and respectful approach to supernatural phenomena and spiritual matters. What I experienced that night was not just a horror story. It fundamentally changed my perspective on life, existence, and the unknown. As the days and months passed, I began to see that night as a warning. Perhaps it was an experience that I needed to go through in order to understand the importance of being careful and respectful towards the universe, beyond or unknown forces. This process taught me that everything in life is in balance and that every action has a reaction. Perhaps the words my friends said had more weight than I thought. Perhaps the universe that surrounds us interacts with us, our thoughts and our words, much more than we realize. After that day, I told others about my frightening experience. Some of them didn't believe me. Others were deeply surprised by what I had experienced. But the most important thing for me was how this experience changed me and how I look at life. Although the moments of fear I experienced that night are still fresh in my mind, like a fresh wound, this experience has taught me a lot. I now have a respect for everything that exists in the universe, for all visible and invisible forces, and I approach the mysteries of life with a more open mind. Perhaps the most important lesson was that, like life itself, there are many inexplicable secrets in the universe that we do not understand, and that sometimes we can only learn by living and experiencing. This dark night taught me that facing the unknown, facing our fears, and overcoming them are the things that actually make us stronger.